Hello, I'm here today with Solara Green, the co-founder of the Visionary Network. My name is Gina Diane Harding from Beyond the Infinite Doorway and the Divine You Academy, and I'm really thrilled to be chatting with Solara today about consciousness and the singularity, two of her favorite passions and her areas of expertise.
Yay!
So Solara, welcome and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Gina Diane. I'm excited about this as I'm trying to get into concept and language and form something that I think hasn't been said about consciousness and creation and the human singularity yet. So let's see what we can do.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Okay, so let's dive right in and start talking about consciousness and what is it becoming now?
Okay, well, it's interesting because consciousness, a lot of people think of it as like some place far away, some ancient wisdom, some place to tap for things, etc., etc. That's not how it occurs for me, and I'm sure for you too, Gina Diane. For us, it's a living fount of infinite intelligence, of genius streams, of the flows of possibilities that have never been considered before. It's an ocean of wild genius just waiting to be explored and unfolded and created within. So for me, consciousness is more than just the soup we live in. It's the fabric of possibility that we dive into to make life really exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely more than something that happens in the brain.
Absolutely. It's definitely external to us, but it's also an essential part of who we are. In fact, you could say it's the universe unfolding in creation, and that occurs there outside of us, but it also occurs within us. So there's a kind of matching frequency where the power meets the possibilities. You could say that's the nexus point of creation with consciousness.
Yeah, where the power meets the possibilities. Yay!
Yeah.
So, how does it relate to spirituality?
Well, it's interesting because I actually think we're moving into a time where we're stepping beyond what's been known as traditional spirituality. I think that for eons, for centuries, we've adapted spiritual beliefs. And I think we've moved beyond those now into brand new 21st century genius possibilities that are morphing and transforming those beliefs into the next levels. Not to say there aren't some really genuine and valid and amazing things inside spiritual belief, but I have found in working with people that sometimes those beliefs are the next trap from keeping them from moving into the next breakthrough of the new. And that there needs to be a kind of free flow of possibility always happening. And sometimes I see people on the spiritual path will grab onto a belief and lock it down as if that's the eternal truth. And I'm one of those people who believes there are no eternal truths. They change and morph and transform all the time into the next new. That's part of the excitement of consciousness. It is a forever thing, but it is an infinite possibility thing at the same time. And when you stand in the creational aspect of it, oh my God, it's just such an exciting place to dwell in and to create from.
Mm-hmm. So you would believe, and as I do, that there is always something new that we don't recreate from what's gone before. That we don't just take what's out there and bring it into form in a different way. That we can actually access new consciousness.
Absolutely. Well, because the rest is kind of improving upon what is. Whereas what we're talking about is consciousness creation, the invention of brand new possibilities for who we are, for how we live, for the beings we're becoming, for the future we're creating. And to me, that's just the most exciting place. You could say it's innovational, but I think it's a step beyond innovational. Um, it's wildly unimaginable. You know, it's hard to put language to it because for me, and probably for you too, the excitement is looking beyond. You know, I know you're a big beyond the infinite doorway person. Do you want to say a couple words about that?
Well, I agree. There's always something more, and if by defining something, by trying to capture it in words, sometimes we put a limit on it or a boundary on it, and things are boundless. And yeah, I totally agree. There's always new information that we can access. So yeah.
Yeah. Because you see, I believe that the human race isn't just becoming a slightly better version of itself. We're even evolving. I don't think that we are evolving, but I don't even know if I'd use that word. I think we're mega leaping. And that mega leap takes us into infinite capacity, a connection with the infinite intelligence stream, so we can know anything we want to know, so we can create infinitely and abundantly, and in great measure, and we can source the new. And I mean, God, if there's any reason we exist in life, for me, it's to invent what has never been invented before. And I just don't mean an invention like a product. I mean like concepts and ways of living and who we are and how our very being evolves through all of infinite eternal time. And oh my God, that's just the most thrilling place. And I know there are a lot of people that for them that wouldn't be necessarily a place that excites them. But to me, the most exciting playground is the playground of the new. And consciousness is that playground. It is the place where the new can be found and finessed and created and powered into reality in such extraordinary ways. It becomes an exciting adventure for me when we're creating consciousness. So I absolutely love it.
So for you, Solera, consciousness is shifted beyond anything to do with individuals, with psychology, with the mind and intuition, and definitely beyond some of the older concepts like healing. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, or?
Yeah. We have been in the past as the race very mind-oriented, generally, and to some degree closed up and individualistic, just because of the way different societies have had us generate ourselves. That's not everybody on the planet, but it's been a good amount of us. And what's happened is that we've plugged in, we've connected to the infinite internet of possibilities, of genius flow, of infinite consciousness. And from that place, we operate from knowing, not just intuition, not just gut feel, because those are little bursts, but from absolute knowing. It's a sensory intelligence. You know things, and you don't know how you know necessarily, but you know. You know it in the very fiber of your bones, and you know it as a source of it. So you don't just get things to get it, you become a source for that to power into reality. So it doesn't matter if it doesn't exist today as a belief or a pattern or a reality, because you can create it so. You can become the founder of new ways of doing things. And to me, that's just, so exhilarating and so exciting as a way to live. And again, I'll say that consciousness is the playground for that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Without plugging into consciousness, it's just not the same. It's like you have a grand source partner of the universe with all its power of constant and ever-flowing creation, and all its flows and its ideas, and when you tap that, you dwell in a different reality than when you dwell in a reality that looks like normal life and moving on and concerned for things like climate change and isn't the world in a mess and all that stuff, because to me it's far from that. We are about to absolutely, literally implode into what I would call a human singularity. And a technical singularity is considered the point at which artificial intelligence supersedes human capacity, human intelligence. And I think, yeah, we'll have that too. And I think we'll have it because we know how to source sentient consciousness in artificial intelligence. And so we will partner with that artificial intelligence, but also we equally have access to that infinite intelligence. Our brains have such incredible capacity, and I believe we're starting to grow that capacity in our brains. Our abilities are already starting to show up differently. The power from our very core energetically is 100 times today what it was 10, 20 years ago. When you and I were both kind of starting on this journey, the power of us has increased exponentially. Our ability to source reality, to create consciousness, to transform people and the planet and the universe is extraordinary, and we can do that. And I think that a part of what's happened is we've slipped from just individual human beings into an awesome sense of collectiveness and connectedness. So we can become the universe in creation, the sentient force of the dreamer dreaming future possibilities. And that's a very expansive, extraordinary, powerful, and hugely vital way to live. It's not about going way out there. It's about being right here, standing in the nexus point of power on the playground of the new and sourcing life into its effervescent motion towards a future that is just unpredictable at this point in time.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's certainly different from what a lot of people who talk about consciousness today would imply. Uh, you really have quite a unique view on that, and you have spent a lot of time connecting with consciousness. I'm just wondering if you connect with consciousness. Well, are you always connected with consciousness, or do you want to connect in a certain way right now and speak from that consciousness?
I am always connected to consciousness now. I wasn't. And there were times where I'd have to plug in, connect, get in the flow, and then come back to myself. But in the last probably year or two, it's a permanent connection for me. It's who I am. And it's an awesome way to live. So I have less focus on identity. I'm less interested in myself and more interested in what flows through me, what wants to come through, what wants to be gifted and sourced onto the planet and into the universe at this time. I don't look at purpose anymore as what vision I have. I do have visions and loads of them, but I think for me, it's more about, can I alter the face? And I'm going to say, can we alter the face of creation throughout this universe such that it shows up in a way it wasn't going to show up anyways? And that's our power to create in consciousness. It is amazing to be able to do that. And I can almost feel, people going, well, wait a minute, how do you know what's right to do? And are you sure you're not, being egotistically driven? And, all those questions would, of course, pop up in people's minds because that's part of the culture whispers about how it is to be a human being and what's possible and what's not. But for me, when you allow yourself to supersede your individualistic sense of self and become the universe in creation as an expansive consciousness creation, as a being of extraordinary proportion, the rightness of what comes through you is evident by how touched you are, how humbled you are, how awed you are, how moved to tears you are by every second of the possibilities you engage with. And it is that for me says this is perhaps the greatest gift, not only to give to the world and to the universe, but that the universe is giving to us. Maybe the universe has waited centuries and eons and millennia and light years for somebody in the human race to discover this. And by the way, I'm not just saying that's me. I'm sure there's others too. And as we know there are, but really I look around at what's written today on consciousness and I do not see this level of it. I don't see people understanding that they have the power to create the consciousness that shapes the fabric of the world and the universe. Not just with our thoughts, like willy-nilly randomly having a thought and that goes into the soup and the soup becomes the whole. Not that. But to stand as a source creator, powering up the possibilities of us into effervescent reality, oh my God. And to be so moved by it.
Yeah.
To me, that's just the greatest gift there could ever be that I could give my life to, is that creation. And, I know not everybody might want to do that, but oh God, I wish they did. Imagine if there were 7 billion plus consciousness creators on this planet who could, no matter what happened, source the future of an unprecedented, amazing possibility that no one's ever thought of before, that supersedes problems, that finds miraculous solutions to things that we haven't even considered are possible yet. Because that's what's possible in consciousness. It's all there. It's like some dreamer dreamed it up, and dropped it into consciousness, and it wafts around all over the place through the universe until somebody like us plugs in, taps the flow, and pulls it through. And I do think that's the job of a human being, a greater being walking in life, in form on planet Earth, is to pull those genius possibilities through and to give them life and form, and thereby creating us as a race something we have never considered ourselves to be before.
My heart's a fluttering. My pulses are racing. I want to join you.
Well, you already do. Diane and I and some others, we create consciousness every week. We have 2 calls a week, one with the Australians and one with the Northern Hemisphere people. And we create consciousness. So we do things like, for the Syrian refugee crisis, we create the consciousness that's going to uplift all people, that's going to connect all people, that's going to let people find ways of solving the problems. We look at earthquakes, and instead of going, oh no, people, what are we going to do? We tune into the power and the potential and the possibility of it. We uplift the people, we call the resources to it, we call the breakthroughs that's meant to happen, we ripple the waves around the world that are meant to touch people and stir them and change them to the next level of themselves. So we tap the potential of why something has happened and power that so that it gets fulfilled at its greatest level, rather than it just, runs willy-nilly and I don't know and whatnot around the world. So it's exciting. Don't you find that too? Oh, I think you must have frozen somewhere. I don't know if you can still hear me, Gina Diane, but thank you so much for doing this interview. It's been amazing and wonderful. I have loved it, and maybe we'll do another one again sometime soon.